In a parallel universe 65 million years in the past, an asteroid broke free of the belt and sped straight for Earth. As it entered the atmosphere, it began to turn red. After that, it accelerated and completely missed the planet. Henry and Ida, two Apatosauruses, are working in a field near a river at the foot of Clawtooth Mountain millions of years later. When Ida shouts, "It's time," Henry sprays water from his mouth onto the crops. A boy and a girl, Buck and Libby, were born from the small eggs that she had in her nest before the large egg hatched. Buck hits the large egg with a stick because it still won't hatch. They remove the top to reveal a tiny dinosaur clinging to the egg inside. Arlo slowly emerges and begins to walk, initially wobbling uncomfortably. With the assurance that they will all take care of it jointly, Henry shows them all the farm and the mountain. 5-year-old Buck and Libby are assisting with the chores, but Arlo detested his task of feeding the chickens because of his fear. He is persuaded to enter the coop by Ida, who ties a bucket of corn around his neck. He frees a chick that is caught in some weeds after spotting him there, only to have the mother chicken approach from behind and squawk loudly. Arlo, who is terrified, rushes into Henry's corn silo. He uses a boulder to seal the door, protecting the food from scavengers. He places his foot in the mud, stamps it on a rock, and then places it on top of the silo after Ida tells him to leave his mark. He exhorts Ida to leave her mark, noting that she built the cabin, the fence, and the 3 kids. The kids are also eager to leave their mark, but Henry reminds them that they must first earn that right by accomplishing something monumental for a cause greater than themselves. By cutting down trees and preparing a field, Buck and Libby have earned their grades by the time they are 10. However, Arlo has yet to take any action to earn his reputation. Arlo is determined to finish his chore, but Buck plays a joke on him and scares him away before he can. Arlo is taken into the field by Henry at night, and he instructs him to proceed to the middle. He cries out for his father as a bug lands on his nose. When Henry approaches and blows on the bug, it turns out to be a firefly. He says to Arlo, "Sometimes, you gotta get through your fear to see the beauty on the other side." Then he waves his tail through the grass, causing more fireflies to emerge. Excited, Arlo catches up. Then Henry informs him that he has a special task for Arlo, so he can make his mark. The following day, Henry brings Arlo to the silo and informs him that a rodent is breaching the fence and stealing corn. He instructs Arlo to build a trap using a rope, a net, and an ear of corn on the ground as bait after telling him that his task is to capture it. He shows Arlo how to make his mark by smashing a pumpkin to show what happens when he uses a mallet to kill the creature. Arlo later hears the trap's sound. He approaches with the mallet and discovers a human child who is choking and is trapped with the net around his neck. Arlo sighs and sends the boy on his way, but the boy comes up to him and starts sniffing. As Arlo retreats, he trips over a rock and screams. Henry approaches the boy, who is startled and flees. When Henry notices the boy fleeing, he screams at Arlo for letting him. Arlo explains to his dad that the reason he let him out of the trap was because there was screaming and screeching inside. Henry asks Arlo to follow him as he searches for the boy's footprints. It suddenly began to rain. Henry reassures Arlo that if he can find the river, he can find home despite his fears that they will become lost. Arlo is informed by Henry that they need to move quickly because the boy's tracks are being washed out by the rain. While they are surrounded by crackling lightning and thunder, Arlo trips and tumbles in the mud. He is informed by Henry that they should return home. The river suddenly overflows due to a landslide. Before being carried away, Henry pushes Arlo to safety with all his might. Ida and the kids struggle to complete the chores now that Henry is gone. When Arlo puts corn in the silo for the winter, the boy is already eating it. While pursuing him, Arlo snatches an ear of corn from his mouth. Arlo falls into the river as they struggle, screaming for help, but no one can hear him. Arlo is knocked out cold as he careens down the river and hits his head on a big rock. He discovers his location upon waking up while still in a lying position on a sandbar. The boy is at the apex of a cliff, and the boy's howl is the only sound he can hear. The boy watches as Arlo clumsily scales the cliff before jumping on his face. When he realizes the boy has vanished, Arlo shakes him off and proceeds to scale the cliff's edge. In an effort to locate his house, Arlo scales a ridge to its summit. When he sees the river, he is reminded of Henry's advice. He makes his way up the river before coming across a berry tree, where he balances on a rock to get the berries. He stumbles and falls, landing with his leg trapped by a pile of rocks. He closes his eyes and nods off because he is stuck. The following morning, he is awakened by the sound of geysers and discovers that the rocks have been moved, freeing his leg. He notices human footprints and wonders if the boy who assisted him was the one. He continues to walk up the river as it begins to pour heavily. Arlo observes the other animals taking cover, but he is unprotected. When he hears a rattle in the underbrush, a boy emerges and offers him a lizard before moving on to a bug. Arlo doesn't want to eat either of them. The boy then brings back some berries, which Arlo cheerfully consumes. Uncertain of the boy's comprehension, he asks if he knows where to find more. Arlo pursues the boy as he runs off to a cliff ledge. With his mouth on one edge and his legs on the other, Arlo tips over. The boy shows him a berry bush after using Arlo as a bridge. Arlo flips over and moves in the direction of the bush. A snake suddenly emerges and bites Arlo. The young boy begins to chew on the snake's skin after grabbing its tail. Arlo realizes the boy had saved him as the snake slithers away. Arlo hears a voice say hello as they both continue to walk up the river. He discovers a Styracosaurus with large horns by looking around. Forest Woodbush is his name. He claims that the tiny animals that are perched on the horns are there to keep him safe. He claims he could use the boy as another protector because he saw the boy defend Arlo. Forest asks Arlo what the boy's name is after hearing that he is with him. When Arlo says he's unsure, Forest responds, "I name him, I keep him." Both of them begin calling each other names but receive no response. "Spot!" Arlo yells, and the boy turns to face him. "Spot, come here." Walking up to Arlo, the boy. On his return trip to Clawtooth Mountain, Forest warns him not to get separated from Spot. They hear a squeak as they turn around and notice a gopher sticking its head out of a hole. Despite Spot's attempts to pounce, the animal quickly drops to the ground. Spot places his mouth near the opening and blows, causing a gopher to burrow out before scurrying back inside. More gophers emerge when Arlo imitates the action. Arlo and Spot are forced to flee for their lives after being bitten by the angry gophers. On a ledge above the river, they discover themselves. Arlo gets bitten by a different gopher, which knocks him into the river. Spot dives in after him and shows him how to swim as he struggles to stay afloat. After figuring it out, Arlo and Spot swim to shore. Arlo tries to shake off the leeches after realizing they are all over his body. Spot assists in removing the tough ones. They both eat heartily after finding some fruit as they continue walking. Once they realize there was something in the fruit, they begin to have hallucinations. They both pass out from exhaustion. At night, they awaken and stroll through a meadow. Arlo moves his tail across the grass, bringing out fireflies. Spot reaches out to grab one of them out of excitement. It starts to light up when Arlo blows on it, and Spot lets it fly. When Arlo mentions missing his family, Spot tilts his head in bewilderment. Breaking some sticks into the shape of dinosaurs, Arlo claims that one of them is him and the others are Buck and Libby, Mama, and Papa. They are his family, he declares after drawing a circle around them. Spot makes 3 human shapes out of sticks and then draws a circle around them. That's his family, Arlo informs him. Spot covers 2 figures with dirt and lays them flat on the ground. Arlo uses his Papa figurine in a similar way. They howl at the moon together in sorrow. The following day, as they continue their ascent of the river, a violent storm strikes. Under a downed tree, Arlo curls up, and Spot follows. When it's over, Arlo climbs out and realizes he can't find the river because there is so much destruction all around him. He observes pterodactyls flying in formation in the sky, resembling a search and rescue squad. Spot runs off and hides when Arlo calls out to them. Arlo is met by Thunderclap, Downpour, and Cold Front who offer to guide him back to Clawtooth Mountain. Arlo assists them in removing the fallen tree after they discover an animal trapped underneath it. Thunderclap picks up the creature and swallows it whole after throwing it into his mouth. Arlo is startled when he looks around and discovers Spot hiding under some debris. He can be smelled, and the pterodactyls ask Arlo where he is. Arlo tries to divert their attention, but Thunderclap flies over to Spot when he nervously casts a glance in his direction. Spot flees, and Thunderclap follows after him. Spot jumps on Arlo's back as soon as he approaches. Calling for assistance when he spots a long-necked dinosaur grazing, Arlo later realizes that it's actually 2 T-Rexes. Arlo rolls into a ball over Spot, sandwiched between the pterodactyls and the T-Rexes that are now charging. The pterodactyls are suddenly attacked by the T-Rexes, who then chase them away before coming up to Arlo. The T-Rexes assist him in standing up and identify themselves as Ramsey, a girl, and Nash, Ramsey's brother, as he is paralyzed with fear. When Butch, their father, approaches, Arlo notices a sizable scar covering his face. Butch responds that they don't have time to help because they are trying to locate their herd of longhorns when Arlo asks for assistance getting home. As compensation for helping him get home, Arlo offers to let Spot sniff out the herd. Spot is able to locate their footprints, but feathers on the ground show that rustlers took the herd. They locate the herd grazing in a nearby field after following the tracks. Butch instructs Arlo to scream while standing on a rock close to the herd because he knows the rustlers are waiting, and then to stop when they charge at him. Arlo leads Spot to the rock while trembling. He tries to scream, but he can't because of his fear. Spot bites his leg and he yells in agony. 3 raptors rustle through the underbrush before approaching Arlo. They inform him that he is trespassing and that they deal with trespassers by killing them. When a raptor attacks, the T-Rexes dive in and engage the threat. When Butch headbutts a raptor, the herd rushes directly in Arlo's direction. The T-Rexes attempt to keep up with the herd as Arlo and Spot take off running. A raptor leaps on Nash, and the two engage in combat with the raptor pinning Nash to the ground. Ramsey whips him with his tail as he prepares to strike, sending him flying away. Arlo flees the stampede behind a boulder, but the raptors can smell him from there. When Butch charges in, 2 raptors tackle him and knock him to the ground. As Butch grabs the other raptor by the tail and throws her off, Arlo summons his courage and charges in and headbutts one of the raptors away. Arlo helps the T-Rexes move the herd to a more secure location. Arlo, Spot, and the T-Rexes assemble around a campfire that evening. Ramsey tells Arlo that the cut on his forearm will leave a good scar after it heals. Nash displays a scar on his calf and explains that he sustained it while battling 15 stegosaurs. Ramsey claims that he once had no choice but to gnaw his tail off because it was stuck under a rock and a herd of longhorns was charging him. He displays the remnant of his tail. When Arlo inquires about the origin of Butch's scar, he replies that while he was drinking from a pond, crocodiles jumped out of the water and bit his face. One crocodile was split in half by him, another was tail-whipped, and a third was drowned in his blood. He then opens his mouth to reveal a crocodile tooth that has become embedded in his jaw. Arlo claims that his papa had no fear of anything and that he has given up feeling afraid. Butch explains to him that he was terrified when the crocodiles attacked him and that fear can reveal your true character. Just then, the first snowfall occurs, and Arlo informs the group that he must leave immediately to prepare the food for the coming months. The T-Rexes lead the longhorns on the following morning, and when a group breaks off, Arlo moves ahead and snaps a tree off with his tail to drive them back. Arlo says goodbye to the T-Rexes as he climbs a hill and sees the peaks of Clawtooth Mountain. Arlo howls joyfully as he approaches his house, and Spot joins him. Suddenly, they hear someone else howl in response. Arlo picks up Spot and makes his way back to the river because he can't bear the idea of losing him. When a storm hits, Arlo's feet become mired in the muck. He notices the pterodactyls flying around when he looks up. They fly in and use their wings to attack Arlo, and Thunderclap grabs Spot in his talons. Arlo tries to back away as the other two turn to him, but he slips in the mud and falls into the underbrush below. He tries to escape, but the thorns enclose him. The pterodactyls chase Thunderclap and Spot after failing to reach Arlo. Arlo tries to free himself once more, but a rock falls and strikes him in the head, knocking him unconscious. When he awakens, he recognizes Papa as the person who is chopping the brambles in half. Arlo is told that they must return home, but he is determined to save Spot. Arlo shouts at Papa to stop as he continues to walk. He then notices that Papa hasn't left any tracks. Because he loves him, Arlo tells Papa that he needs to go save Spot. After saying that he knew Arlo had it in him, Papa disappears into the rain. While still entangled in the bushes, Arlo breaks them free one at a time and pursues Spot with renewed vigor. As Arlo makes his way up the mountain, he howls for Spot and hears him respond. He observes Spot ensconced in a pterodactyl-filled hollow tree. They beat the tree in an effort to free Spot. A pterodactyl is head-butted into the river by Arlo as he charges in. Arlo is raised into the air by Thunderclap and the others as Spot howls from the tree. When Spot receives a thunderclap, he moves deeper into the tree. Arlo hits a tree while still in the air, causing it to fall and land on the pterodactyls. As Arlo hits the ground, a second pterodactyl flies in his direction. The pterodactyl is thrown into the water by Arlo after he grabs a tree with his tail and throws it at it. Arlo rushes up and lets out a loud roar to scare Thunderclap away when he sees that he is still attacking Spot. Spot is swept away from the tree when a flash flood comes. Arlo reaches out to save him, but he is unable to do so. Debris from the flood falls, sending Arlo into the river. He sees Spot unconscious inside the sinking tree as he struggles to swim. Arlo hears a waterfall ahead and swims to meet him. He wraps himself around Spot when he gets there, and the two of them fall over the edge together. Spot awakens when Arlo rescues him from the water at the bottom. Arlo sighs with relief as he lowers his head. The following day, as they continue to walk home, they hear a human man howling. On the hill, they see a woman and two kids join him. Spot leaps off Arlo's back as he slowly approaches. The family surrounds the father as he rubs Spot's hair and sniffs him. Spot attempts to continue by jumping onto Arlo's back, but Arlo pushes him off. Spot recognizes Arlo's marking the group with a circle on the ground. Arlo gives Spot a goodbye hug. Arlo continues on his own, observing the farm in the distance and the harvest that is still on the ground. Mama, Buck, and Libby were worn out but continued to work. When Mama looks up, she notices Arlo approaching her. When she cries out Arlo, they all rush to embrace him. Arlo's mud footprint is right beside Papa's at the top of the silo. Arlo returned home after making a significant contribution to a cause greater than himself.